Hey guys, so I'm currently reading, actually I'm just about to start No Exit by Taylor Adams, and I'm really excited about this book. I have heard nothing but great things. So many people love this book and, talk about it as if it's their favorite thriller and one of the best thrillers they've ever read. So yeah, I'm really hoping that it lives up to the hype. All I really know about this is that it is about a young woman who's going back home to see her mother, who I think is ill or something. So she's on this road trip going back home, but it is winter time, so it's really bad conditions on the road. And so on her journey, something I think goes wrong with her car or something, so she has to stop. And when she stops at this, abandoned town or like a small town or something like that. So things go wrong. What it says on the back though is 13 hours, 4 strangers, 1 missing child. No exit. She knows her odds. She'll fight anyways. Okay, so that's not actually what I was expecting at all, but that sounds really, really good. So yeah, like I said, I'm really looking forward to this book, and I am hoping that it is as good as people say. So I'm gonna start it now and then check in with you maybe, 20-30% of the way, depending on how much I read, and yeah, let you know what I think about it.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side.
Just a really quick update for No Exit. I am about 20-30 pages in, and I just have to say that I am gripped instantly. I am really loving this. First of all, okay, we start off with this girl, as I said earlier, who is going to see her dying mother in Utah from Denver, where she goes to school. So she's on the road driving to Utah, and it is a horrible blizzard. And so I'm actually from Alberta in Canada, and there are horrible, horrible winters here. And it's actually like currently so much snow, everything outside. And I can just imagine this so vividly. The snow, the blizzard, how cold it is, how horrible the driving conditions are. Like if you've tried to drive when there's snow and ice on the ground, it is super scary. So right away at the start, I am like feeling that. And so basically Darby, our main character, she is like, there's horrible driving conditions, and also I don't know why she decided to go on this little road trip, because she has a 94 Honda which is basically breaking apart. Like her windshield doesn't work, and like all these things going on. So I'm like, she maybe should have thought of that before, maybe taken a plane, just other options were there. But either way, so she ends up getting to this rest stop because the conditions are just getting really bad. So there's this coffee shop, and she basically runs into these 2 people, these strangers in the coffee shop, who also are stranded here. So she's just kind of introducing herself, whatever. But there are 3 other cars in the parking lot, so she's basically assuming that there are 3 other people here. And so she went outside to just try to get some service or something. And so she's passing through the other cars, and one of them is I think like a big van, so like one of those white vans, and she is just kind of peeking through the window, and she sees this child's hand gripping this like metal bar. So she realizes that there is a kid in a cage in this van. And yeah, okay, so we're ready. Very gripping, very interesting, and I'm very excited to see where this story is going.
The next day.
Hey guys, so it's actually the next day, and I wanted to update you on No Exit. So I am actually maybe about 60% of the way through now, so quite a ways, and I have a lot of thoughts. This book is crazy, insane. I was not expecting a lot of the just like the intensity and atmosphere of this book. I think it's so well done in terms of like keeping you on the edge of your seat. Although I will say, for at least one of the plot twists so far, I did like guess it early on, but I still think it was really well done, and like knowing that that was the direction that the story was going just made it a lot more fun. But this book is so insane, and I will say that I love the main character Darby. I just think she's so like badass, and like she's always thinking, 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of the bad guys. And I think that's what is like kept her alive in so many situations where I'm like, how is she gonna get out of this? And how like just the situations that the author is putting her in is crazy. So I love that. I just think that this book is really interesting because it's such a like not impossible situation, if that makes sense. Not that it's like common that people stumble across kidnappings in progress or anything, but I just think that this is something that like could happen to somebody, which just makes it kind of more scary in a way. So yeah, I'm really loving that. And I am really excited to see where things go and how this ends, because it's kind of gotten to a point where everybody is involved, and like I feel like somebody's gonna die. Don't know who, and I have hopes on who it will be. But yeah, I'm just really excited to see how this goes, and I'm most likely gonna finish it tonight. I will check in with you when I do, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to seeing how this is gonna end. Hey guys, so I finished No Exit by Taylor Adams last night, and I wanted to let you know my thoughts on it. And I feel like I've had some time to kind of sit with this book and come to terms with how I feel about it and what happened. And I can safely say that this is one of my favorite thrillers ever, and I definitely understand the hype that this book has. I just think there were so many things in this book that were so well done and made for like a really exciting, edge of your seat, like wanting to figure out what's happening next type of book. So I really love that. So some of the things that I really loved was, first of all, the fact that this book was so action packed. I think like, I don't know, after the first couple of chapters we get right into the thick of it. You know, we find out right away that what's going on. We find our main character figures out that there is a child in the back of this van in this like isolated rest stop in the middle of a snowstorm. So like a lot is going on. And then since we find that out, everything that happens in this book is just full on action packed, high stakes, and so much fun to read about. So I love that. I also love the atmosphere of this book because from the start, we are in this road trip kind of with our main character. She's driving in really horrible weather conditions to Utah to see her dying mother. And she ends up having to stop at this rest stop where she is basically has no exit, because she has to stop there because the weather is so bad she can't drive on the road, so she can't leave this area. And then when she gets there, there are these 4 strangers that are really suspicious, and honestly, the whole time I was like, I don't trust any of them. There were so many like red flags with all of them that made it just so much more fun to read, because you were like, you know, what is she going to do in this situation, and who is she going to trust, who is the bad guy, what's actually happening. Like the whole time you were fully invested in figuring that out. So I love that, and I love the atmosphere. I also love our main character, Darby Thorne. She was one of the most badass characters that I've read in a while. I think a lot of people do say that she makes some dumb decisions and wasn't always the smartest. And while I do see that, like for example, at the start of the book, she's going on this road trip and she forgot her charger, and you know, her car is kind of messed up. So yeah, I can see the fact that she maybe wasn't the smartest in some situations, but when she gets into the situation and all the things that she does to kind of save this girl and herself and the people that she thinks are innocent, she is just such a savage, such a badass, and she does whatever she can to, you know, make sure this kid survives. And I just loved her kind of banter with our villains, and her, like, she never flinched, she never backed down, and she always just, it felt like she was 3, 4 steps ahead of the bad guys. And there was a bit of a back and forth. Like sometimes the bad guys would do something that she wasn't expecting, and then sometimes she would. But I think it felt like a pretty fun cat and mouse game in that way. So I love that. Lastly, the plot twist. I think there were like 2 or 3 major plot twists. One of them I definitely guessed early on, but I think despite me guessing it, it was still done really well, so it made it fun to read. The second one, I had a feeling of that it could go that way, and I was kind of like anticipating maybe some other things were possibly going to happen. I think the things that I was thinking was going to happen were a little too left field, but the things that did happen, I was still like really, I liked, and I had fun with it. And I think, again, it was done really well, so that even if you were expecting the plot twist, it didn't take away from your enjoyment of the story. And then at the very end, there's a bit of a plot twist that's honestly kind of confusing. And without going into spoilers, I had to reread the last kind of sentence or two a few times to figure out, like, is this what's actually happening? So I really like that. And overall, yeah, 5 stars. Absolutely love this book. And honestly, this is going to be a reread often. I just love this thriller, and I feel like it's the type of book that, like, despite, again, knowing what might happen, you're still going to have a lot of fun with it. So highly, highly recommend this one. Okay, so next I'm actually planning to read Beartown by Frederick Bachmann. This is going to be the second Frederick Bachmann book I've read, and I don't really know much about it. All I know is that it has to do with this small town hockey team, I think in like Sweden, and it's kind of revitalizing hockey in the small community, and it's also about like this community coming together. But I'm really looking forward to this and excited to read it. And yeah, Frederick Bachmann is just an amazing writer, and I know anything he writes is going to be gold, so can't wait to get into this one. Once I have kind of started this book and gotten a feel for it, I will check in and let you know how it is.
Waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Hey guys, so I wanted to do a quick update because it's been a few days, actually like about a week since I started this vlog, and I said and I was supposed to be reading Beartown by Frederick Bachmann, and I did start this. I think I'm like 15% of the way through, and I was really enjoying this. I think it is like classic Frederick Bachmann with just his like kind of charming, witty, funny writing, but also, you know, this book has a nice message, and from what I've seen so far, the characters are really great and everything. But for some reason, I just haven't really fully gotten invested in the story, and I feel like that's making it a bit hard for me to actually finish it. So I did put it down for a while, and I feel like I'm not gonna finish it anytime soon, so I didn't want to like wait till I just finish it to finish this vlog. But I did want to update you for a different book that I was reading and have now finished and give you some of my thoughts on that. But that was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. So this is a really, really popular YA fantasy series, and I think it came out a while ago. Like, it might have been like 5 or 6 years ago. This whole series is finished now. There's 4 books, and I have never read it, so I've been meaning to read it for a while now, but I finally read it and I loved it. I have so many thoughts about this book, and I feel like it is a really kind of like complex and nuanced story, and it has a lot of things that I love in a story, such as like just the characters, the plot, the political like intrigue, the kind of warring factions, warring sides, and like seeing how, obviously this is the first book, so seeing how this whole kind of like political stuff is gonna grow and you know, cause many issues and things for our characters. So I really love all of that. But without going to spoilers, I'll just tell you guys a bit about how I actually felt about all of these things. So first off, with the characters, so we have 2 kind of main characters, Laya and Elias, and then I would say there's some kind of secondary characters, such as Helene. And overall, I loved all of these characters. I think what makes books really interesting and like takes them a step above is really when characters are not black and white. You know, when you have complex characters with very difficult kind of emotions and feelings and even like belief systems, or they have different sides to them, kind of pulling them in different directions. So Elias is a perfect case of that because he is the son of the commandant who is on the Marshall Empire side, who are these conquerors of these kind of, I think all of these tribal groups and peoples, and this kingdom or wherever we are in used to be in controlled by the Scholars Empire, who were very much about like education, libraries and education and universities, and like wanting their people to succeed and be knowledgeable. The Martial Empire took over, and now they are very much about kind of military and training and fighting and things like that. The Martial Empire has now taken over, and they are very much about like military and violence and training and that kind of stuff. So Elias, one of the main characters, is the son of the commandant, who is basically the head of this military school. And it is very like cutthroat, very vicious, and the commandant herself is this very like mean and evil kind of character. Like, she seems to have no remorse. She has slaves that she treats really poorly and really doesn't seem to care for her son. So that's on one side. Then we have Laya, who is one of the scholar people. So she is from this other faction, I guess. Her family is killed by the Martial Empire once they take over, and so then she is living with her brother and her, I believe, her grandparents. But then one day they come and do a raid on her house, and they kill her grandparents, and her brother is taken. So she starts off the story being very very meek, and she doesn't really think she has a voice. She can't really fight for herself, and she actually ends up leaving when her brother is being taken. She runs away instead of fighting and helping him. But what I loved is like seeing the growth of both of these characters. So for Laya, we really see that she is, by the end of the book, she has really overcome a lot of her fears, I guess, and is much more brave and strong and courageous and able to fight back and like do what's right. And then for Elias, he obviously starts off being on the enemy side, and he is not necessarily a good person, or at least when we first meet him, we don't know, like, is he, like, where is his moral compass? But then he ends up, we end up seeing that actually, like, he is not in favor of the Martial Empire or his mother, and he wants to run away from the academy that he, like, the school that he's in, and he very much is like sees wrong and right and wants to do right. Basically, Laya ends up meeting the Resistance, which is this group of people that are trying to fight against the Martial Empire. And so she gets told that the only way that she'll be able to like get help saving her brother is if she goes into this military school where Elias is, and she acts as a slave and kind of gets some intel on the academy. And so she does that, but then obviously as a slave she's treated very badly, and she is like the personal slave of the commandant, so it's like a very personal attack, and you know, she's really treated badly. Like, she's beaten, whipped, a lot of horrible things happen to her. And Elias, we actually meet him one day when he is trying to leave the school because he is graduating, and when he graduates he doesn't want to be there anymore, so he's trying to run away. But then he ends up getting called into these trials where he has to participate to try and become the next emperor. And so Laya and Elias meet at the school, and they end up having this bond kind of, but Elias is also his best friend Halid, who is also another student at the school, and she is very much not like Elias in the sense of like her moral compass isn't necessarily on track like his is. She just does what the authority says that she has to do, and she doesn't really question it or object to anything. So it's like she has a harder time kind of realizing that maybe the things that they're being told and the things that they're being taught aren't right. And so I also liked her growth and seeing like where we start with her, and where like some of the choices she makes near the end of the story, where we see that okay, like she actually has a good heart and she's trying to do the right thing. So I really liked basically all of the characters, and I especially liked the growth that all of the characters and the like journey that they went on to get there. Like, everything they did was earned, and you could see that, you know, it cost them certain things, but they were able to overcome and be who they are by the end of the story. So another thing that I really loved about this, like, obviously we have the South Asian main characters, which I think is just awesome. So the cooler thing I think was that Sabatir, this world that she's created, is heavily inspired by kind of ancient Rome and like Roman I guess like strategy, tactics, war stuff, all of that. Like, we have legionnaires and even like the Martial Empire, and I'm forgetting, but there's like other words, and like this world is very much, it's very heavily Romanesque. So I thought that was really cool because we have these kind of South Asian characters put in this world, which is inspired by something that I feel like we don't really see, and especially in like a YA fantasy, or even really fantasy in general. Like, of course, you have influences of these kind of political war type structures and like influences, but to have a full world based on it. And honestly, like ancient Rome was this very like dangerous, cutthroat time, like in Spartan military and things like that. Like it's very violent, basically. So there's a lot of moments in this book where it's like, this is a YA book, but there's a lot of moments that felt much more adult in the terms of like the violence and the actual messages and the themes and things like that. So I did actually enjoy that. I think it was a nice touch, and it made the book feel a little older. So I like that. And then lastly, I did really like the romances. So basically I would say there's 3 couples, sort of. We have a bit of a love square maybe in the future of these books, I feel, coming up, because first off we have Elias and Halid. So I did talk about both those characters, but they do have a bit of a thing going on. Basically, Helene is been in love with Elias, but Elias sees her as his best friend, and he doesn't really want to ruin that, even though like there might be feelings for him on his side as well. And then we have Laya, who once she runs into the resistance, she meets this guy named Keenan, who's also part of the resistance. He is this very closed off person. He's very like only focused on the resistance and kind of overthrowing the Marshall Empire. But as Keenan and Laya meet more often and kind of get closer, we see that there might be something there as well. And then lastly, which is the ship that I am ready to set sail on, is Laya and Elias. I think their relationship was really cute, and I feel like there was a lot there. I feel like given this is the first book and where this book ends, we're going to see a lot more of them together as a pairing, as partners, and maybe more of a romance. I would say there like was a little touch of something, and obviously there was like tension and moments where like something could happen, but I definitely think that that is the ship that is going to be most important. And I think both these characters are really good kind of foils of each other, or at least like, and just having 2 characters on opposing sides, but having kind of the same mentality and the same goals, and how they come together to achieve those goals was really interesting, and I'm really excited to see kind of where that goes from here. So overall, I finished this book really quickly, so I was really into it. I think I am gonna give it maybe like 4 to 4.5. I don't think it was at the exact level of 5 stars, but I'm very much feeling like the rest of the series could get there. I think also that this was Sabatier's first book ever, so I could tell that like this is a debut book, but not to say like she's beautiful writing, and I just think that it's gonna get even better from here on out. And I don't know if other people do this, but I always like, when I rank books, especially like really popular books, I always kind of pit them against other books that I've read and loved. So my favorite book ever is Strange the Dreamer, which is, I feel like, the epitome of like YA fantasy. So I can't necessarily say that this is on that level, but it's really high up there, and I'm really, really excited to see what the rest of the series has in store for me. So I'll probably start that like pretty soon, because I really want to know what's gonna happen next.
The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And